The crime of obstruction. You could not publicly state that in your report or here today.
Can you repeat the question, sir? You're going to have to repeat that for me. Can you repeat the last part of that question?
Yeah. Which act? Pardon?
Can you read the last question?
The last question was...
I want to make certain I got it accurate. I'm sorry, could you restate?
The individual is in fact obligated to provide what's being demanded by the regulation or statute, meaning you don't have any wiggle room, right?
I'd have to look more closely at the statute.
Well, I just read it to you.
And what was the question, sir, if I might?
Correct.
And where are you reading from on that?
I'm reading from my question.
Then could you repeat it?
Okay.
Is that correct on the screen?
Can you repeat the question? And now that I have the language on the screen.
Is it correct?
What was the question?
Pardon?
Can you read the last question?
The last question was...
I want to make certain I got it accurate. I apologize.
Sure.
Can you start it again?
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one?
Attorney number 2 in the Inspector General's report and Strzok both worked on your team, didn't they?
Pardon me? Can you ask?
They both worked on your team, didn't they?
I know. I heard Strzok. Who else were you talking about?
Attorney number 2 identified in the Inspector General's report.
Okay. And the question was?
Volume 2, page 87 and 88 of your report. True?
I'm sorry. Could you again repeat the question?
There we have it. The credible Robert Mueller. We'll take your calls all morning long on that. Good morning, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. I want to say hello to my parents. They're heading home after their trip to beloved Idaho. They're at the airport right now, listening before they head back east. Safe travels, and as you both like to say, happy trails, and we'll see you both again. Joining us now from the RNC, Cassie Smedley, talking a little bit about, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about, Cassie. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
You know,
that was quite the supercut you had there. I haven't even heard all of those put together yet.
Well, thank you. You know, Cassie, it's so funny. You know, it's a good day when you look at Morning Joe and Mika, and it looks like they've both had a rough night. And the only thing they could come up with is this decorated war hero that people are picking on. And you're thinking, this was he was the greatest prosecutor ever a month ago, 2 weeks ago, a day ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, to put it mildly, this was not the day Democrats wanted or needed, because they put all their hopes on this one man who, first of all, didn't want to be there. We knew that on the outset, and he made no bones about that there. I mean, yesterday he couldn't have looked less interested. And then to see that either through a lack of preparation or, again, a lack of interest, you had to wonder, had Mueller even read the Mueller report? He wasn't in the mood to give them any help at all. And as a result, it ended up backfiring in a huge way, because it opened the door wide open for Republicans to say, what did the American people just spend nearly $40 million on?
Indeed. And it was interesting how he seemed engaged when it might have been Adam Schiff or Jerry Nadler, and then with the Republicans, he seemed to lose interest. I don't know if we've ever seen a bigger flop, and I can't even think of a Broadway show or a show or a Hollywood disaster recently.
I know. I was just about to say, this is the biggest box office flop in a long time. And the problem is so Congress goes out of session tomorrow for 6 weeks, and they have spent how much time on, we've got to hear from Mueller. Mueller is what we need. We need this hearing. This is going to solve all of the issues. And yet, it has left them in even more of a lurch than before, because now they've still got this long list of things to do: ratify the USMCA, work on lowering prescription drug prices, an immigration reform plan, to say nothing of securing the border, or now looks like we've got a budget deal in place, but certainly not the one that you'd like and that you expect out of any meaningful work from Congress. And now all they have to go home and talk about is this Mueller flop. It's a real spectacle for them. It puts their 2020 candidates who are in the House candidates who are in districts Donald Trump won in a really bad place, because they really have nothing to go home and talk about. And then I think we are going to get to hear about it next week when the 2020 candidates take the stage. So again, it doesn't put Democrats on any sort of footing to talk about the issues that people really care about. And by the way, I don't know if you saw it, but the CNN poll that showed exactly 0% of respondents counted this Mueller investigation or Russia as their top priority for 2020. So it's a real problem for them. That's what they spend all their time on.
Cassie Smedley joining us from the RNC, the Republican National Committee. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. So they do have something else to talk about, and that would be the president and the squad. And once again, the president proving how unique that he is. He doesn't back down from anybody, and he appears to be, well, not appears, he is winning the war against those four young congresswomen.
Well, when the debate is, do you love America or not? I think you're going to get a lot more people erring on the side of loving America and scratching their heads at these four people who, by the way, I believe he's calling them AOC plus 3 now because he wants to leave room to add more to him at the 2020 Dems. But you're getting this debate here of these four people who have made any number of comments that make you scratch your head and say, does that match with what we inherently believe as Americans? And that is something that when you line up the litany of comments that they've made, I mean, to say about Al-Qaeda and 9/11, some people did something, or I believe Americans may have been at fault for that. That means something to so many of us who that was either us or our siblings or our classmates who went over and fought Al-Qaeda over there so that a 9/11 would never happen again over here. So President Trump is tapping into a sentiment of frustration that you hear these comments seemingly on a daily basis and seemingly without any regard for any pushback, and they get heralded on the left. And then when President Trump tries to fight for America and say, no, we've got a standard of patriotism that we love in our country, he gets 2 days of bad news cycles. That's a very frustrating, reality that we're experiencing right now. And I think people hate the double standard. And at the end of the day, we're having a conversation about love of country. And I think, again, there's a lot more people who say, I don't like what's happening on the left right now. It feels extreme to me.
Agreed. Cassie, what do you make of the squad and just calling them that? It just seems kind of weird where, depending on your, we'll just say it's just like the villains in a Marvel movie, if you will. There's Thanos in the squad, but this has got to be hurting Nancy Pelosi. This has got to be hurting the Democrats. It's got to be hurting the swing Democrats that got elected just because a bunch of Republicans retired.
Right. I mean, those folks, I think there's 30 of them, maybe 31 of them, who are in districts that they switched from red to blue in 2018, but Donald Trump won in 2016. And they didn't win their seat in Congress like how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won her seat by saying we're going for socialist policies and we're going to go as far left as possible and ban farting cows. They won by being pragmatic people who said, I will work with President Trump when it makes sense. I realize that we've got local economies that have to be looked after. Things that sounded like a kind of reasonable representative, and people gave them a chance. The problem is they have had no opportunities to actually be a pragmatic member of Congress or a pragmatic representative. And if they have squandered them. And they've ceded all of the oxygen in the room to the socialist squad, or to Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff and the baseless investigation. When you look back on what has happened in the House since Democrats got the majority, you'd be hard-pressed to think of anything other than what someone from the, quote, squad has said or something that's happened in Jerry Nadler or Adam Schiff's hearing rooms. And that's not good news for these Democrats who know that their constituents are saying, what are you doing about the kitchen table issues? How are you helping me to better my life for my family and me? And they don't have any answers. They can't point to any legislative accomplishments in that department.
Cassie, finally, when we look at when Congress returns, they've got a lot of work to do, right?
That's right. I mean, there's still some optimism that they can get the USMCA passed. And I do think, again, talking to these same members, they're about to go home for 6 weeks. And I think they're going to hear a lot of frustration from their constituents about not getting things done. And chief among them, I think USMCA, but certainly immigration and securing the border and stemming the tide of the opioid epidemic. These things that again, most every single person says that affects me. What are you doing about it? So there is some optimism that we actually may see some movement, in particular on that trade deal once they get back. But the window is certainly closing because they feel like once we get into 2020 in the election year, everything's going to be taken over by the presidential candidates. So if they've got, this is kind of their last best hope these next couple of months to get something that they can go home and run on if they've got any hope of reelection. Because once Donald Trump's at the top of the ticket, it's going to be a hard ballot to contend with for especially those who have ceded all of their time and all of their legislative opportunities to the far left of their party.
Any thoughts on next week's meeting of the usual suspects, the Democrats debate again?
Well, I hope that we're going to get a double down of some of those hand-raising moments. By all accounts, it seems that they have no issue with their admission that they believe private health insurance should be illegal and we should use taxpayer money to provide government health insurance to illegals. That seems to be the summed up sentiment of the 2020 Democrats today. And I fully predict that they will double down on that sentiment, and they will do it, I believe, at their own political peril.
Cassie, always appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You as well. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Big news yesterday. We're going to get your reaction all morning long.
The report on the bottom of page 2 of volume 2 reads as follows. The evidence we obtained about the president's actions and intent presents difficult issues that prevent us from conclusively determining that no criminal conduct occurred. Accordingly, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. Now, I read that correctly?
Yes.
All right. Now, your report, and today you said at all times the special counsel team operated under, was guided by, and followed Justice Department policies and principles. So which DOJ policy or principle sets forth a legal standard that an investigated person is not exonerated if their innocence from criminal conduct is not conclusively determined?
Can you repeat the last part?
Yeah, exactly. In other words, a double standard for the president. And as we've been saying for years, there was no presumption of innocence. The fix was in with Mueller, Strzok, Page, and Clinton. Coming up next, Liberty Linda, Tom Munns, and David from Nampa. More phone lines open. We want to hear from you all morning long on Robert Mueller and the Democratic disaster that was his testimony with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
He made this decision. He is not going to be a television ad, and he's not going to be that. And I think, and I take Neil's point, it helps with credibility. The fact is we are living in this 21st century new type of asymmetrical media warfare that we're in. And you have a propaganda machine on the right. And that's what it is a full-fledged propaganda machine on the right that Democrats haven't figured out how to combat very well yet.
And
I think they took the Trump bait, meaning they said, oh, yeah, you're good at TV spectacles? We're going to make a TV spectacle.
But they were warned that he was not going to
That's
read.
right. They need to go back to just being
from his own report.
And this goes to the larger issue of have they fumbled the entire accountability mission that they were supposed to be on these last 7 months.
There you have it, Chuck Todd from our friend at Newsbusters. Why is Chuck Todd giving the libs advice? They do have a propaganda machine. It's called the media. Let's go to the phones. Boom, boom, boom. Liberty Linda, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, when I first saw Robert Mueller yesterday, I said out loud, he looks like he is drugged.
You said drugged or drunk?
Drugged. I thought that he had been drugged. I said it out loud, and there was something about his face. He just seemed to be drugged. And I could see it in his face. He looked like he wasn't all there. Anyway, he may have had some type of a health problem, I thought, or they just drugged him because they wanted to control him. That's what my thoughts were. However, when he didn't know what Fusion GPS was, it's like, what? I heard of Fusion GPS, even though I don't have a great knowledge about it. I've heard it about 1,000 times, I believe. And so I think we all knew about that time that he was just a big name they put before it to give it legitimacy.
Well, maybe he should listen to this show or Sean Hannity's show to figure out what Fusion GPS is. I mean, this is embarrassing. And this guy was in charge. He spent millions of dollars. And you notice when the Republicans smacked him about his partisan staff, Mueller couldn't say anything. Where was his accountability? Where was his credibility? Where was Mueller?
I know. I think everybody knew it. You know, this was just a fake gang of liberals that have taken over our nation. You know, it was so evident. And I thought what Jim Jordan said was absolutely marvelous. You know, he had the best question, I think. And anyway, our buddy Sean Hannity last night, he was wonderful. Your buddy. He had the best show. He put it all together.
Well, that's our little Sean, yes.
Yes, and we're hoping now that, you know, this will stop and Trump can continue to do the good job that he is doing. And, you know, maybe we'll stop hearing from those globalists and let's get the border straightened out. That's what I say. You know, let our president do his good work that he does. But yesterday was totally out there for all of us to see what was going on in our country. Didn't you see it as well? I mean, I did,
and you'll hear from Jim Jordan coming up. Liberty Linda, anything else?
No, just I'm really looking forward to what everyone's going to say when they call in. And Bill, I guess Bill called in.
Yes, we're going to hear from Bill coming up as well.
Bill, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what Bill has to say.
All right, Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. KIDO Talk Radio time, 6:26, time for traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave. Back to the phones. Let's go to Pete from Mountain Home on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
It's beyond my purview.
Yeah, that's my other one. From now on, that's outside my purview. That's a great response to almost anything. You know, I think Mr. Mueller they found and this is probably not polite or kind of me, but they found somebody who's probably getting a little senile as a prominent figurehead for a bunch of Hillary Clinton supporters to take 2 years to dig up anything they could against Trump as part of the coup. And you listen to Mueller, he never read that report. He the guy was just not there, really. And I really do think he was nothing but a figurehead. But, of course, that's not within my purview.
Well, if that were the case, then who was running it, the more never-Trumpers then, if he was just the lackey.
The Strauchs and I forget who his deputy was. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when they said, hey, how long did it take you to get rid of Strzok and Page? Huh?
Who?
What?
Who? And Fusion GPS? No, that's not within my purview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was, I don't know why did the Democrats ever actually talk to this guy before they put him on? I mean, the guy was gone.
And
anyway, so now Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are going to start their own investigation because this one didn't work.
Well,
and I think it's great. They are going to be spending their entire 2 years in power in the House doing nothing that will help any of their constituents. Well, you look at occasional Cortex; she's down on the border, worried about the illegals that are being detained, while up in her own precinct in the Bronx, her own congressional district, she ran Amazon out that could have brought $25 an hour jobs to people there.
Well, it's the party of Mueller and AOC. Pete, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you, Kevin. And just remember, it's not within my purview.
Appreciate that.
They are devastated. The Democrats lost so big today. Their party is in shambles right now.
And that's good news. More coming up. If you're on the lines, hang on. We will get to you next. You're listening to Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget the KIDO Talk Radio app. By the way, why don't we do this? It is Robert Mueller Appreciation Day. Let's go to David in Nampa. David, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Yes, good morning. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I love that.
This would be funny if it weren't so blasted serious. Remember the movie Monsters Ball? This is a real Monsters Ball. James Comey is the real villain, as is Weissman. This should be called the Weissman Report. And Bob Mueller, I'd feel sorry for him if this man he was protecting a gangster named Whitey Bulger. Remember this? He sent 4 men to prison for a murder he knew his gangster committed for 27 years until it was proven one of them died in prison. And to add insult to injury, when they sued for collectively over $100 million, he said they shouldn't get anything. Wow, that's a monster. This is the Weissman Report. This is like if 6th grade teacher Kevin Miller saw Hugh Diligence and Sloth McSlacker do an oral report, and they have to do a big presentation. And obviously, Mr. Diligence wrote the entire report, and Mr. Slacker skimmed it in the bus. That's why he kept saying, could you repeat the question? He didn't do the report. He barely looked at it, signed his name on it. And this talk about who didn't exonerate the president, other things he didn't do, give the president a deep tissue massage, and didn't retile his pool. A prosecutor does or doesn't prosecute. And since we should be innocent until proven guilty, not prosecuting is exonerating. Okay, that's the way it works. And for this speech he made, it would be like, did Kevin Miller rob the bank, last night? Or, break into the bank and rob it last night? Well, after investigating Kevin Miller, he was having an affair with his wife's girlfriend, with the gas station lady down the street, and his son's school teacher. And also, last night, he was doing the chambermaid in a hotel across town. So Kevin Miller could not have broken into the bank. Well, I've just aired all your dirty laundry. You have no right to do that. But that's what this monster, Bob Mueller, did. As for Weissman, he shut down Arthur Andersen, cost 80,000 people their jobs, put 2 executives in jail, and he got a 9-zip smackdown. And when lawyers, a lawyer is somebody who could submit a 12 or 1,400-page document and call it a brief, they gave a 6-page synopsis. And it was a cover page, so that's it may be 7 pages, basically saying, what are you doing? And he got a 9-zip smackdown. So this Weissman guy, and you haven't heard of Fusion GPS, who gave us the PP papers, which was the sole reason for why Americans were spied on, why they actually sent spies into the Trump campaign. And by the way, you know what Fusion GPS did to a man named Tor Halberstam? They sort of accused him of being a child pornographer in a newspaper that's about one step above a high school newspaper, but it's technically a real paper. Then they made like 500,000 inquiries for that story, because they'll gin it up.
Sure.
So now,
Yep.
When you look at their Google results, the fact that this guy's a child pornographer is the first thing you'll find. Okay, so that's how they roll, and he's never heard of it?
Crazy stuff, David. Thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And since we only have her for a couple minutes, Tanya J. Powers joins us now from Fox News Radio. And, instead of talking to you about whatever we're supposed to talk to you about, would you mind if I change the topic even before we introduce it, since you're going to be leaving us anyway because I'm a little late for the segment?
I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
A lot of people would like to know more about you. And, we know your favorite college team. What do you do when you're not plugged in? Because your job is to inform us, but to do that's a huge commitment.
It is. Honestly, I'm never not plugged in because there are so many things to stay on top of. It's just there's so much to make sure I know a little bit about. So if we have breaking news and I get called in to anchor breaking news coverage on something, I need to at least be familiar with, current events of, and it's not just what I'm assigned as a reporter, but, what's going on in Washington or internationally or whatever. I have to be up on as much as possible. So when I get called in, I kind of know where to go with it.
Right. Kind of like Underdog.
Well, I don't have the cape, but that would be cool.
I know. It's a dated reference. We thank you for your patience, and sorry about the abbreviated segment today.
It's fine. No problem.
Thank you. Tanya J. Powers joining us. Let's go to Bill, who joins us now. Bill, quickly rising up the Kevin Miller Power Caller Index. Bill on KIDO Talk Radio. Boom, boom, boom.
Hey, I want to take this in a different direction, if I may, but you started it, so it wasn't me. You had young Cassie on this morning.
Cassie Smedley.
I like her optimism about Trump. She had some hope for the USMCA, and I thought maybe without dashing people's hopes, I might be able to raise some concerns about the USMCA. It seemed that people.
Now wait a minute, Bill. We've got Robert Mueller testimony blowing up everywhere. Bill, I don't know. Hold on. Let me just say this to you. You ever go to a party and say, Bill, you're a nice guy, but you're a real buzzkill.
You're scratching your head?
You're just going, how can you talk about the YMCA when we got Mueller? I mean, that's what we're doing. Mueller. Sell us, Bill. Sell us.
Kevin?
Bill?
The USMCA... it should be more of a concern to the average American than the USMCA on a global scale. It's incredibly important. Everybody already knows about Mueller and how bad they've already trashed it. I did hear Cassie this morning talking about the USMCA. I thought I would address that. If you want to talk about Mueller, I can basically just say that I believe whatever everybody else said this morning thus far, I totally agree. I don't think there's anything that I could add. The USMCA is a global trade agreement. It will violate American sovereignty. Trump is actually in support of it right now, whether intentionally or by accident. It's something that needs our attention as Americans because we condemned Obama for the TPP and the TTIP, which are the other trade agreements. We've been fortunate enough to stop Bush's security and prosperity partnership. I know that trade is not a sexy topic. I know that people are not interested, and people are more interested, even on the right, on emotion rather than intellect to some degree. And I apologize for saying that, but it's true. When we're interested in knowing more about what is blowing up and what is most prominent in the media. This is how the media takes control of the minds of the Americans by getting them all involved in emotion and to be able to talk about things like that. I'm not saying that it wasn't a political dog and pony show. I'm just saying that the USMCA, whenever it's mentioned, a lot like the Article 5 convention, needs to be stopped in its tracks. So I would encourage Americans to be able to look up some information on the USMCA and understand that it's not exactly what it's cut out to be. It's got 34 chapters. It violates sovereignty. It creates new bureaucracies, and it strengthens the LGBTQ. It's a living, breathing document. It completely violates the Constitution, takes the power away from Congress, and Trump is in support of it. So I am still in support of Trump. He just needs the information to realize this decision is not a good one.
No, we love you, Bill.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. There you go. Bill on the YMCA. Too much truth. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. All of this is a show. I hope at some point everybody wakes up and just steps back and realizes that it's all a play. Mueller or Trump or any of them, they're not good people or bad people. They're actors. They're paid actors. None of this is real. At the end of an empire, everything is taxed, everything is illegal, and everything is a lie. Everything. So all we have to do is just be results-based intellects. Just look at the results. because it's the only thing that counts. No matter what these people do, they'll even admit to you on TV that this is all just a show. Because if anybody goes off script, what do they call them? They call him a bad actor. They'll just say it to you right on TV. Oh, well, he's a bad actor. She's a bad actor. It's all it is. So please focus on results. It's all anybody ever has to do to know that this is all a lie.
All right, too much truth. Laying down the smack. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
The performance was obviously not very good. He had a lot of problems. What he showed more than anything else is that this whole thing has been 3 years of embarrassment and waste of time for our country.
This president has not done anything wrong in the process. So, no, I don't have a problem with this president. There was no collusion. So how do you get to obstruction? This should be the end of the chapter of this book that we put America through.
Well, we refuse to accept it.
There's a cone of silence in the White House that is engaged in a massive cover-up in the obstruction of justice.
President Trump went to great lengths to obstruct this special counsel's investigation. Anyone else who acted in this way, if they were not the sitting president, would face criminal prosecution, would face indictments.
We cannot control what the Russians do, not completely, but we can decide what we do.
There we have it. Your reactions as we continue on. Let's go to Ron in Meridian with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Ron.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Kevin. How's it going?
A great day in America.
Amen to that. I received that. Hey, I just want a refund. Can I get my money back? I mean, since it was such a joke, and, as everybody's saying, it's just, a bunch of bad acting, can I get my refund back? I don't know how much it's going to be, but, I think it's only fair. Anyway, question for you.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. That's beyond my purview. Sorry.
All right. So you notice I didn't say what everybody else is saying. I just don't want to, I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, yeah, I heard a lot of it on the radio yesterday. Thank you for putting it on your station. I don't have a smartphone, believe it or not, but one of the few. So where do we go from here? Where's it going to go? I mean,
Nancy Pelosi sounds lost.
That's my question is, I don't know if I can completely say that he's been exonerated. I don't know because I believe the Democrats or whoever is going to find, something else, and they'll take parts of this report and use it for their benefit and leave out the others, which is typical. But I just, again, my question to you, Kevin, is where does it go from here? Is it going to continue on, or can we get on and start helping, get this country back in shape and can we literally just help the homeless whole thing? I'm sorry, I'm going way off now. This whole homeless thing, why can't we give them free health coverage?
Right.
Why can't we give them free insurance? Why can't we help them? Now, a lot of them, I understand, don't want it, believe it or not. But there are some out there that are struggling. And, I just don't understand how somebody that comes into the country illegally can have something for free when our own people are American citizens, a lot of them seniors, believe it or not, they're struggling to even get a meal, to even get water, and especially in the heat right now. This is ridiculous. We need to open our eyes and get this thing straight and start doing what's right. And I know it's way out there, and I know people are just going to say, well, that's not reality. Well, you know what? Reality can be changed, and people's minds can be changed, and we can all work to get this country back, anyway.
Right, so, and that's where it comes from. Ron, thank you for the call.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you. There we have it, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. Joining us now, the original Safer Money Specialist, Ron Grant. How are you, Ron?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
Well, we're just blowing it up here with deficit talk, Robert Mueller talk, you name it. We want to thank you for giving us, some patience yesterday because we were just so busy. But we've got a lot to talk about this Saturday at 2 when we're talking about keeping your money safe, right?
We are, buddy. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about, theme of the show is going to be why Wall Street can't handle the truth. Little tidbit out there for you. Make sure you tune in, get your pencil and your paper because a lot of people are in Wall Street. We want to give you that and let you know what's happening on there.
Well, that's important when we're talking about, financial security. Now, let's take a look at some of your other passions. That's Saturday at 2 on KIDO Talk Radio. That's not only on 580 AM, but 107.5 FM. What about the cars? I know you like the cars. You're always looking for car shows to go to. You're new to Idaho. You love the Gem State.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. I'm really happy that we're here, and I'm enjoying it immensely. We do have a couple car shows. On Saturday, we've got a show in Nampa at the thrift store on 12th Street. It's 9 a.m. It's the Rescue Mission Antique Car Show. And then next Wednesday, the 31st, Albertson Show and Shine on Eagle Road and State Street. I'm going to be over there from 5 o'clock, so hopefully you'll come out and join us and see some nice iron.
Now, speaking of seeing, what if people want to hear what you have to say? You like to talk to people, right?
I do.
Well, how can they get a hold of you?
Educating people for a long time.
Yeah, how can they get a hold of you?
You can always call me at 208-660-1372. Schedule an appointment with me if they'd like. We'll sit down. I'll answer all their questions about how to keep that money 100% safe where they can't lose the principal. They can't lose their gains. We can get them a reasonable range of return. Most importantly, though, I can provide a guaranteed lifetime income for them that they can't outlive. And I'm going to show them how to stop paying those pesky fees that they're paying to their financial planner, their stockbroker, their 401k company. You know, back in 08 and 09 when the market tanked almost 50%, Kevin, my clients and I, we got a zero. And a zero is always better than a loss.
You're right about that, Ron Grant. Up early this morning. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
All right, Ron, we appreciate it. Your website for more information?
SaferMoneySpecialist.com.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you have a good day.
All right, Ron Grant this Saturday at 2. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, coming up, we've got a star-packed selection of talent next hour. You don't want to miss it. Hank and Liberal Steve, we will get to you right after we speak with Congressman Fulcher. Just so you know the score, but we want to hear from you as well. Mueller, time for him to go. And like somebody said, how about a refund?